Hi guys, it's Sophie. I have a lot of books that I've bought in May. I did a little bit of a Waterstones trip when we went to Bath to try my wedding dress, and I've ordered quite a lot of books. So I'm going to show you everything I've got on my TBR right now, apart from 2 books I've already hauled. One of these I have read, but the rest of them I have not read yet. The first book I have is At Night All Blood is Black by David Diop. This is one of the books that was, I think it was longlisted. I don't think was the shortlist up? Yeah, it is on the shortlist. It's on the shortlist for the Booker International this year. And I don't really know much about it other than it's about war, which is normally not my kind of thing. But I've seen a few people say this is really, really good. It is a fairly short book, and I normally like the international Booker takes. Foz is on heat, so she is being affectionate again, so apologies if she kind of messes about a bit, but that is At Night All Blood is Black. The next one I have is Fake Accounts by Lauren Euler. And this book is about a woman who is snooping on her boyfriend's phone, and she finds out that he is actually a really famous internet conspiracy theorist. I think it's really interesting the way that like fake news and conspiracy theories are becoming so dangerous today, and I've not heard great things about this one, but I still think it sounds interesting to me, so I wanted to pick this one up. Then the next one I have is Braised Pork by Anne Yu, and this is about a woman who comes home to her apartment and she finds her husband dead in the bath. There's a folded up piece of paper next to his body which changes how she understands everything about what she's just seen. I've heard quite good things about this one, but it's not been everywhere, but hopefully I enjoy it. The next one I have is Gargoyles by Harriet Mercer, and this is 100% inspired by Jane Campbell. I know that Jen was doing the Disability Reading Month, and Gargoyles are the one she read sounded like the one I was most interested in. This is about a woman who suffers a severe period of ill health, and the way that she perceives her body and her life in respect of this sudden deterioration in her physical health. I really like memoirs, and the way that Jen was describing this one makes me think it's going to be written really nicely as well. Then next I have Little Scratch. This colour doesn't come up great on the camera. It's by Rebecca Watson, and this one is basically, I bought it because of What Page Pod. I've seen them tweeting about this one like a while ago. It is formatted in a really unusual way. Hopefully you can kind of see it as I'm flicking through. But I believe it's about a woman who has suffered a sexual assault, but she's working in like a rubbish office job and trying to like survive the kind of millennial experience of a rubbish office job whilst managing in her own head what's happened to her in terms of the sexual assault. I've heard good things about it, but I haven't seen it everywhere on BookTube, but I've seen a lot of it on Twitter, so yeah, excited to get into Little Scratch. The next one I bought totally on whim. I've not heard of anyone talking about this one, but it was on a display at Waterstones, and this is another one about sexual assault. It's called The Girl at the Door by Veronica Ramo, and the kind of opening to this novel is that a young girl comes to knock at the door of a house. The wife opens the door and the young girl says, "Your husband, the professor, has raped me." I literally know nothing about this one, but the cover was really appealing. Hopefully you can see that, and the premise was interesting. So we'll see what I think. As I say, it might not be a hit. I've not heard anything positive or negative about it. I was intrigued. The next one I've had on my to get to list for a long time, and that is Me and White Supremacy by Lala F. Syed. And I saw Lauren from Lauren in the Books talking about this one recently, and she really enjoyed it. It has sort of reflective pieces throughout. This is going to be one of the ones I'll put on my TBR for the self-care readathon, but this looks at it's kind of like an exercise book in some sense for white people to do some actual work around dismantling any racism that they hold and move towards being anti-racist. Then the next one I have is Between Light and Storm, How We Live with Other Species by Esther Wolfson. I picked this one up again, never heard of it, but I saw it in Waterstones and I just missed that experience of buying stuff you've never heard of. This one is about a woman who works a lot with birds and sort of seeks to understand the language and way that birds function, but then she expands what she's talking about into wider areas, looking at how humans and animals interact with one another. Then next I have Blue Ticket by Sophie Mackintosh. When I read her first book, if you remember, it was a little while ago now, I said that I really liked her, but I wanted her to do something more than what I saw in The Water Cure. I just wanted something a little bit extra than her debut. So I really wanted to pick up her next book to see whether or not for me that like tiny spark I was missing is fed its way in. I also follow her on Twitter and I think she seems really cool, and I'm just hoping I enjoy her next book a little bit more than I did her first book. So I'll let you know what I think of this one. In terms of premise, this sets out that when women have their first period, they get given a ticket. One is a ticket that leads them towards a life of motherhood, and one is a ticket which leads them to kind of freedom, but they lose all choice. So I think it's going to be around motherhood and infertility and what it means to have that choice removed from you. Yes, as I say, I will let you know what I think of her next book. Then next I have the new Rachel Cusk, Second Place. I've really enjoyed the Rachel Cusk that I've read. It's very different love stuff. I think kind of settle into her little worlds. So this one is around a woman who invites an artist to stay with her near to this like coastal place in the middle of nowhere where she lives. And she thinks his art is kind of so important that it will resolve some understanding about her life or something that she doesn't know about herself, but really it's seeing this masculine energy coming into her feminine space. I've not seen too much about this one yet, but I kind of haven't expected to because I think it's fairly newly out, but I really like her as an author, so I'm pretty sure I'll enjoy this one too. Then the last one I have finished, but I'm not going to talk about too much here. This is Oak Flat by Lauren Redniss. She is the author of Thunder and Lightning and Radioactive, which are also visual non-fiction books. I know Thunder and Lightning was talked about a lot on BookTube a while ago, but just to give a sense, it's almost formatted like a graphic novel or a storybook, with lots of images as well as the text. There are some pages of just full text. There you go, just full blank text too. But it is a very interesting way to read non-fiction. Again, if I tell you a little bit about what this is about, it's about a physical location called Oak Flat, which is really important to the Apache people. It's where kind of the main religious ritual takes place for this particular group of people that live in the area. However, underneath it is one of the world's largest untapped copper reserves, and a mining company is seeking to gain permission to mine the Oak Flat, the place where they are sort of living and interacting as a community. So those are all of the books that I've hauled. I just had to pause for a second to get Foz out. But yeah, I've got loads of stuff to read, which is lovely. I've had like 3 books on my TBR for the longest time, and it's a little bit too few. I've twice now within like 2021 finished my TBR and had nothing to read, so I felt like I needed to boost it up a little bit and maybe keep my TBR like around 10. I think I've got 11 or 12 books that I haven't finished yet, so that kind of feels about right. So it meant I got to do a little bit of a book buying spree with like no strings attached. But yeah, let me know if you read any of these. Are you excited to read any of these? And I'll see you guys again soon in my next video. Bye!